Hey drumheads, Little Drummer Boy here, and today I want to do a movie review of 1917, which opened yesterday, January 10th, 2020. And, usually, so far, all the movie reviews I've done, they've gotten 5 stars, and I've been bowled over by the movies. And you probably think, well, man, what kind of a critic is he? He gives every movie 5 stars. Well, not so much. This time I was highly disappointed. I'm a big history buff, and I know a lot about. I've had experience with British 303 rifles before, which there's a lot of them in this movie, and so I like war movies. And anyway, I was highly disappointed in this movie. First thing was, it was there was so much walking in it, and like walking in the trenches. Now I had watched the movie in a Dolby theater, and it's the first time I had watched a movie in a Dolby theater. So the screen is a lot bigger, I believe, than a normal theater, and so I sit at the very back because I get motion sickness. Right, I've got motion sickness um, at the movies, at watching video games for too long. I can get motion sickness. So if you get motion sickness, you may need to take a Dramamine before seeing this movie, or don't try not to watch it in a Dolby theater because I sit at the very back so I don't get sick. But with the Dolby theater, even sitting in the back, it looks like you're in the front row of a regular theater, and so there was so much movement in it, and especially when they were walking in the trenches, and it was close quarters, and I was like 3 times I broke out in like a hot sweat, and then I would cool off, and I would actually have to close my eyes and just listen to parts of the movie because of uh, I was getting sick, and I felt terrible the rest of the evening. I had to take some medication when I got home. I was just feeling so weak and shaky and sick after seeing this movie. But I can't say that that's the movie or the Dolby, seeing it in a Dolby theater, because it's the first time I had seen it in a Dolby theater, and I wish I had my $17 back because it made me sick, um, and the movie sucked. Well, let me tell you what. First of all, okay, the movie is based on memoirs or recollections by a World War I British soldier, right? But I find the movie really hard to believe as a true story. You know, I wonder if it is true. It's a miracle, but there's other things about it that just don't make sense. So I have to wonder if this soldier embellished the story or if Hollywood embellished it. Because here's the basic plot of the movie is, okay, it's the English Army, 1917, in the war, and these two British soldiers get a command to take a paper order by foot from their trenches across no man's land. And for those of you unfamiliar with war history, no man's land is, and they had trench warfare in World War One, and no man's land was the land in between the trenches of the British and Germans, or British and Americans later, and it had a lot of barbed wire and all kind of obstacles to get through, and so there's some things that don't add up. Okay, anyway, they were supposed to take this message to another general in another area and of France, and tell him to stop his invasion of the territory in France he was going to invade, because they had information that the Germans had set a trap for them. So, so it's very, very important. They were either going to stop this invasion or get a lot of British soldiers killed. Okay, okay. Here's the problem with what I have with this whole story. Why would they send such an important message by 2 foot soldiers, by foot? Okay, and across no man's land? They should have known they had probably a very high chance of getting killed, and the message never getting to the general it was supposed to. supposed to go to. And then, secondly, okay, they had airplanes. There are airplanes in the movie. There are airplanes. They had tanks, jeeps, not jeeps. Jeeps didn't come along until World War II. They had tanks. They had trucks to haul troops. They had, and at one point, the two guys, one of the guys even rides on a truck part of the way, and it gets stuck, and he has to help push it out of the mud because they didn't have four-wheel drive until the Jeep came along. But anyway, you see where I'm going with this? If this message was so important, why did they send it by a foot soldier? Because they had airplanes, trucks, cars by 1917, motorcycles. Harley Davidson and Indian were cranking out the motorcycles by then, and they were used in the war. My papa rode a Army issue Harley Davidson from 1923 to 25 when he was an Army cook. So it doesn't add up that they would send such an important message by foot. And even if this had been the Civil War, it would have went by horse. I mean, horses were invented by World War I. And so the whole thing is crazy that they would even have sent this message by foot. Okay, that's my first complaint. The story just doesn't add up. Secondly, it's miraculous what these guys lived through if this actually happened, and one of them did get killed, but it's kind of, and I'll get to some other stuff later. These guys had so many near brushes with death, and then like 5 minutes later, it looks like they just got their hair did and and took a shower and had a buffet or something. They looked robust, and they never had to eat or sleep. It seemed like they were like superhuman or Superman or something. So they finally get in a German trench that's been abandoned, and they get in an underground bunker in that trench, and they're looking for something to eat in that bunker, and they notice a tripwire. Well, they didn't trip the tripwire, but this rat that also was looking for some German food, the rat trips the tripwire. It blows up the underground bunker. One of the dudes gets covered in rocks, and I mean they're like fist-sized rocks. This dude gets buried in them, right? The other guy digs him out. He's all dusty, and you think he's dead or badly hurt. So all this load of rocks fell on this dude. He didn't get a broke rib, nothing, In real life, it would have crushed him, all right? Dude gets him up, makes him stand up, and he's supposedly blind now from the blast. And there's a crevice they have to jump now, created from the blast. And the guy that can see helps the newly blind guy across the crevice, okay? Well, and then they keep going. All of a sudden, this guy gets healed from his blindness. All the dust is off his face. They must have got a shower somewhere. and then, but he gets off because he forgets it's a war, okay? They're watching these two British airplanes dogfight a German, and they team up on him. It's two of them versus the German, and that was really cool. I didn't realize, how slow airplanes look, it would have been. And I mean, I've seen biplanes fly before, but in a dogfight, World War II, they're like booking around 300-400 miles an hour. Even the piston-driven planes, but not counting the Messerschmitt German jets, which came out in World War II. But yeah, it was kind of cool because the planes were like crawling around in that dogfight. And I'm like, yeah, they didn't go that fast, did they? 80, 100 miles an hour, 150 maybe tops. But so the Brits shot down the German, and they see his trail of smoke, and they don't see any explosion or anything. They're wondering what happens. Well, he just happened to come flying up over the hill where they're at, and crashes into this barn where they're at, and his plane starts burning. He's screaming for help, so they run over there and pull him out of the burning wreckage, save his life, but his legs are all burned up. They drag him out to a field, and this guy that was crushed by rocks and supposedly blind, he's trying to minister to the guy, right? Like, do first aid. It's like, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Well, the German didn't forget they were at war, and after these guys just saved his life, he pulls out his knife and stabs the dude in the gut. So the other guy, he shoots the German in the head, and because he was reminded then that this is war, and so he shoots the guy in the head, but the guy that should have been killed by the rocks falling on him died from being a good Samaritan and helping the German, and got stabbed in the gut. So anyway, long story short, this dude, he's his friend makes it, and well, he goes to this town, and these two Germans are shooting at him, and one of them is throwing up and staggering drunk, and rather than try to shoot back at him, I forgot a very important part. He gets in a firefight with the German, and the German is up in the house in a window, and he goes up in there and he kicks in the door. As soon as he kicks in the door, the German shoots him and everything goes black. And you're thinking, well, he's dead, or he should be, but he's not really, because it's a movie and it can't end like that. So then, just like his other buddy that had a second life, he wakes up and he's got blood all over his fingers and blood all over his neck. I think he got grazed by the bullet. He's had a lot of blood on his neck and stuff. All right. So, but he wakes up, he's fine, no worse for wear, and he goes through this town, and these Germans are chasing him, trying to shoot him. But like I said, one of them was he wound up choking one to death, but this other one was like drunk and throwing up, and then tried to come at him, and he just kind of like shoved him to the side rather than kill him. And the guy beside me in the theater's like throwing up his hands, like, what the heck's he doing? But anyway. And here's the the hardest part to believe in the whole movie is he outruns these Germans, and there just happens to be this rapid torrent going through the town, and he just jumps off this wall, doesn't even look where he's going, and next thing, and it's in France, and I don't care if it's summer, winter, what time of year it was, the water's going to be frigid in France, anywhere in Europe. And so he jumps in this raging torrent. I mean, it looked like the Gauley River, which I've whitewater rafted before, second best whitewater in America and second deadly only to the Colorado. It looked like that. And this dude, he's able to stay afloat and keep his head above water without a life jacket, right? And the next thing, I knew a waterfall was coming. There just had to be a waterfall. I don't know how many waterfalls there is in France. I guess, well, there's French Alps, so it's very likely there were waterfalls there. So probably more likely than not. But anyway, so he goes over this huge waterfall, and it's very deep, like it is a lot of waterfalls at the bottom of the waterfalls because of erosion. And so he stays underwater for quite a while because, he goes in deep with the water. He pops up, and it's like a lake down there. I don't know, maybe it was a natural lake or something, but it was like still water. And I thought that's a little odd, a waterfall with still water at the bottom. I mean, yeah, they're kind of like, there are pools at the bottom of waterfalls, but it's still moving water. But anyway, and now he's not, he hasn't got hypothermia yet. And so he comes up to a log jam in the water, and he crawls all across these lesser humans than him, all across these dead British soldiers that obviously couldn't stand the cold water like him. And so they're jammed up dead at the log jam. So he has to crawl over all these loser Brits that couldn't survive that water like he did. And I'm sorry for laughing, but this movie, looking back on it, it's almost like a comedy. World War I was not a comedy, and it's pretty grotesque, some of the scenes in there, but it's just, this movie is so ridiculous. God forgive me if it's a true story and it was a miracle or something, but it gets even more ridiculous. Just wait. So he marches on through, and he's wet for about 2 minutes, then he's like perfectly dry. And so he and his color's coming back. He got over the hypothermia pretty quick. And so lo and behold, he finds the guys he's looking for. He finds the company that he's looking for. And to me, this is probably one of the best points in the movie. And I guess they're having a church service. They're gathered around in the woods, sitting down, and they're having like a church service. And this dude with the beautiful tenor is singing, I was going to say Danny Boy, but he's singing Wayfaring Stranger, which is a, beautiful old hymn. And that's the most poignant point in the movie, and I really like that part of it. But anyway, so they get him to the trench, and the first wave of this invasion he's supposed to stop is already sent out. The first wave has. And he's like, where's the general? Where's the general? So they're trying to send him down the trench to the general, but he's never going to get there because he's got way too many troops to go through. And I'm about to get sick again because he's in that trench walking again, close quarters. So finally, he runs up over the trench, and he runs alongside of it. Well, it could have got him killed. And he runs parallel to it, and all the other troops follow him out of the trench, but they run in a charge towards the Germans. So finally, long story short, he gets to the bunker of the general and tells him, you've got to stop this invasion. You have orders to stop this invasion from such and such a general, right? And that general, tells him basically to F off. You're stupid. But he finally, now this is the kicker now, all that he's been through, an explosion, and floating down an ice cold river for a long time, he pulls out a dry letter from the other general, nicely folded, no burns, no rips, no tears, no nothing, perfectly dry. And you got to remember, plastic wasn't invented until World War II that I know of. It's not like he had a Ziploc bag. So he pulls out this dry letter, nicely and neatly folded, and hands it to the general. The general stops the invasion and supposedly saves lots of British lives. Then, and this dude, and everywhere he goes, they tell him, get some medical attention, get some food. But this guy's like Superman. He doesn't need food or medical attention. And so he goes to a surgery tent, kind of like MASH for World War I, but they didn't have the mind to put sides on the tent yet then. Anyway, and that's pretty grotesque. These guys are suffering. It does remind you of the horrors of war, how much these dudes were suffering in that surgery tent, but he finds the brother, the commander that's over the surgery tent, the medical unit, is the brother of his friend who was killed by the German who remembered it was still war. So he finds the guy's brother, and he gives him his ring and has to inform him, your brother's dead. And then he goes and sits by a tree and just stares out in the wild blue yonder because his job is done. So that's and I'll tell it to you. I pretty much spoiled the movie for you, but don't waste your $17 on this movie. It sucks. My favorite part was seeing the British 303s, which, by the way, at over 100 years old, are still accurate and will blow up a soda can from 50 feet away. And but warning, they kick worse than a shotgun. But anyway, I give this movie a thumbs down. I like historical movies, but to me it wasn't well done with, the ridiculous, a dry paper when you've just been in the river. Come on. And then the whole story to me is ridiculous. If it's a true story, God bless the hero's family, but it would have been a miracle if it is a true story. But anyway, I give it a thumbs down. I give it about a 2 on a scale of 1 to 5. I give it 2 stars. It was just poorly done, a ridiculous story, a ridiculous plot, because, they act like they didn't have planes or cars or trucks, let alone horses. So anyway, I wish I had my money back. This movie, I think, sucked. Some of you may enjoy it. But anyway, I'm going to hop off of here. If you like my content and my movie reviews, like, subscribe, and share. And click the bell icon so you'll be updated when I do my newest videos. Thank y'all and have a blessed day.